The glass doors of the prestigious business tower slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, everything reflected wealth: marble floors, polished steel railings, quiet confidence. People moved with purpose, dressed in tailored suits and expensive shoes. This was a place where status mattered. Jason Statham walked in unnoticed. He wore a simple dark jacket, plain shoes, no watch, no visible sign of importance. To anyone watching, he looked like an ordinary employee, maybe maintenance, maybe security support, maybe someone who didn't belong on the executive floor. Jason liked it that way. He believed the best way to understand a company was to see how people behaved when they thought no one important was watching. He paused near the lobby, quietly observing. At that moment, a wealthy man entered loudly, phone pressed to his ear, laughter echoing through the hall. His suit was expensive, his voice full of arrogance. He snapped his fingers at a nearby assistant, barking orders without even looking at them. Everyone around instantly felt the shift in energy. The rich man's eyes landed on Jason. He frowned. Jason was standing near the elevator reserved for executives. The man scoffed, ending his call abruptly. "Hey you," he said sharply. "Employees aren't allowed to stand there. Don't you know basic rules?" Jason turned calmly. His expression was neutral, his voice steady. "I'm just waiting," he replied. The man laughed, loud enough for others to hear. "Waiting for what? Instructions?" A few people glanced over, uncomfortable but silent. Jason said nothing. He simply met the man's gaze, calm, unbothered, observant. That silence irritated the rich man even more. "You people always act confused," he muttered. "Do your job and stay out of the way." Jason nodded slightly, not in submission, but in patience. What the rich man didn't realize was simple. This wasn't fear. This was restraint. Around them, a few employees exchanged looks. Something felt off. Jason didn't carry himself like a low-level worker. There was confidence in his posture, control in his eyes. But assumptions are powerful things, and the rich man had already made his. As the elevator doors opened, the rich man smirked. "Next time, dress like you belong." Jason watched him step inside. The doors closing slowly, and in that quiet moment the audience is left with one thought. What happens when pride meets the wrong man? The elevator doors slid shut, carrying the rich man upward. Jason remained in the lobby, calm and still, as if nothing unusual had happened. But the air had changed. A few nearby employees glanced in his direction, some curious, others uneasy. They had all seen how the man spoke to him. Sharp, dismissive, unnecessary. Moments later, the elevator chimed again. The rich man stepped out, irritation written all over his face. He looked around as if something wasn't going his way. His eyes locked onto Jason once more, and this time, he didn't hesitate. "You," he snapped, pointing. "Why are you still standing here?" Jason turned slowly. "Is there a problem, sir?" The rich man scoffed. "The problem is people like you wandering where they don't belong. Don't you have a job to do?" Jason kept his tone respectful. "I'm exactly where I need to be." That answer drew attention. A few people stopped walking. Conversations faded. The rich man raised an eyebrow, amused and annoyed at the same time. "Oh really?" he said loudly. "Then maybe you can explain why you're blocking an executive area dressed like that." He gestured at Jason's simple clothes, shaking his head dramatically. A nervous laugh escaped from someone nearby, quickly cut short by the tension. Jason didn't react. He simply stood there, hands relaxed at his sides. The rich man mistook silence for weakness. "Listen," he continued, raising his voice. "I have meetings to attend, important ones. People like you slow everything down." A receptionist glanced up from her desk, clearly uncomfortable. Two junior staff members whispered to each other. Phones slowly appeared in hands. Not obvious, but recording. Jason finally spoke again. "I'm not in anyone's way." That calm response only fueled the man further. "Unbelievable," he said. "No respect. No awareness. This place is going downhill if anyone can stand around pretending to matter." A few employees shifted their weight. They wanted to say something, but no one dared to challenge a wealthy client with influence. The rich man stepped closer, invading Jason's space. "You should be grateful you even work here," he said coldly. Some of us actually earned our place. Jason looked at him steadily, his voice level. Respect shouldn't depend on status. The words landed heavier than expected. The lobby grew quiet. The rich man paused for half a second, just long enough to feel it, then laughed loudly to regain control. Status is everything, he replied. Without it, you're nothing. That statement echoed. Now more eyes were watching. People sensed something was wrong, not with Jason, but with the man humiliating him. There was no anger in Jason's face, no fear, only patience. The rich man turned away dismissively. I don't have time for this. Someone should teach you your place. As he walked toward the meeting hall, whispers followed him, not of agreement but doubt. Jason remained where he was, quiet, composed, and for the first time the rich man felt it. A strange discomfort, because the man he had just humiliated didn't look defeated. He looked like he was waiting. The meeting floor was quieter than the lobby, but the tension followed them like a shadow. The rich man walked ahead with long, confident strides, expecting Jason to stay behind. But when he glanced over his shoulder, he saw Jason still standing calmly near the entrance of the meeting area, exactly where he had been before, unbothered, unmoved. That irritated him. He stopped suddenly and turned around. Didn't I tell you to move? He said loudly. Or do you have trouble following instructions? Several executives and employees inside the meeting room looked up. Conversation stopped. Everyone could feel that uncomfortable moment when something ordinary was about to turn into a scene. Jason took a slow breath. Sir, he said evenly, there's no rule being broken here. The rich man laughed sharply. Rules, he replied. People, like you don't get to talk about rules. A few people exchanged looks. One junior manager clenched his hands under the table. A receptionist lowered her eyes. No one liked what they were seeing, but no one wanted to be the one to step in. The rich man stepped closer again, his voice dropping but still sharp. You're embarrassing yourself, he said. Do you know how easy it would be for me to have you removed? Jason didn't step back. He didn't raise his voice. He simply looked at the man and replied, You can try. That calm confidence caused a ripple through the room. The rich man wasn't used to resistance, especially not from someone he believed was beneath him. His pride took over. This is unbelievable, he said loudly. Security should be tighter. Anyone can just stand here pretending they matter. At that moment, a supervisor hesitated near the door, clearly unsure of what to do. He looked at Jason, then at the rich man. Jason gave him a small nod, not commanding, not aggressive, just reassuring. The supervisor stepped back. That small moment didn't go unnoticed. The rich man felt the shift. For the first time, he wasn't fully in control. His voice rose. I don't have time for this nonsense, he snapped. You're going to step aside now. Jason's answer was simple. No. The word was quiet, but powerful. The room fell completely silent. Jason finally spoke more clearly, his voice steady and calm, but firm enough to carry authority. I've been respectful. I haven't insulted you. I haven't interfered with your work. There's no reason for this to continue. People listened closely now. The rich man stared at him, stunned. Then his face tightened. You think you're special? He said. You think standing there quietly makes you important? Jason didn't answer right away. He looked around the room, at the employees, the assistants, the people who looked nervous, the ones who looked tired of being treated poorly. Then he said, No, I think how we treat people matters. That sentence hit harder than any insult. The rich man scoffed, but his laughter sounded forced this time. You're out of your depth, he said. This is business. Strength wins. Jason met his eyes. Real strength doesn't need to humiliate. There was a pause, long enough for everyone to feel it. If you were in Jason's place being disrespected in front of everyone, would you stay calm like he did or speak up immediately? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The rich man turned sharply, waving his hand. Enough, he said. I'm done wasting time on this. He walked toward the main conference table, expecting the room to move on, but something unexpected happened. No one spoke. No one followed him. Eyes stayed on Jason. The rich man noticed. He slowed, then stopped again. For the first time, uncertainty crept into his expression. Jason remained where he was, posture relaxed, expression unreadable. He wasn't trying to dominate the room. He was simply refusing to be diminished. Finally, a senior staff member cleared his throat. "Should we continue?" he asked, unsure who he was even addressing anymore. Jason gave a polite nod. "Please." That single word, spoken calmly, carried weight. The meeting resumed, but the atmosphere had changed completely. The rich man sat down, irritated, distracted. His confidence had cracked. He kept glancing at Jason, trying to understand how someone so quiet could unsettle him so deeply. Jason, meanwhile, listened, observed. Waited, because he knew something the rich man didn't. This wasn't the moment to reveal the truth yet. This was the moment to let character speak first. And soon enough, everyone in that room would understand exactly who they had been watching all along. The meeting moved forward, but nothing felt normal anymore. Charts appeared on the screen. Numbers were discussed, projections were shown, yet beneath all of it, there was an invisible tension, like a storm waiting for the right moment to break. The rich man sat stiffly in his chair, tapping his fingers, pretending to focus. Jason stood quietly near the side of the room, listening, observing every detail. Then it happened. A sudden alert flashed on the large screen. The presentation froze. The lights dimmed for a second. A low murmur spread across the room. "What's going on?" someone asked. The IT manager frowned, typing rapidly on his tablet. "That's strange," he muttered. "The system just went offline." The rich man slammed his palm on the table. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "We're in the middle of a critical meeting." Another alert appeared, red this time. "Sir," the IT manager said nervously, "we're losing access to the main operational dashboard. If this continues, today's transactions could be delayed." Panic rippled through the room. Executives spoke over one another. Assistants whispered urgently. Phones came out. The calm professionalism of the room cracked instantly. The rich man stood up. "Fix it," he shouted. "What do we pay you people for?" No one answered immediately, then calmly. A voice cut through the noise. "Stop." It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. But it was firm. Every head turned. Jason had stepped forward. The rich man stared at him in disbelief. "What do you think you're doing?" he snapped. "This doesn't concern you." Jason didn't react to the insult. He looked at the frozen screen, then at the IT manager. "Is the backup server isolated from the main network?" he asked. The IT manager blinked. "Yes. Why?" "Switch control to the backup manually," Jason said. "The delay suggests a routing conflict, not a full failure." The room went silent. The IT manager hesitated, then nodded slowly. "That actually makes sense." He moved quickly, typing commands. A few seconds passed. The screen flickered. The system came back online. A collective gasp filled the room. Data reappeared. Charts stabilized. Alerts vanished. The crisis, just like that, was over. For a moment, no one spoke. The rich man stared at the screen, then at Jason. His confidence wavered. "How would you know that?" he asked, trying to sound dismissive but failing. Jason answered calmly. "Because I've seen it happen before." One of the executives leaned forward. "You handled that like you've been here for years," she said. Jason gave a small nod. "I know how this company works." That statement landed heavily. The rich man forced a laugh. "So now you're an expert too," he said. "You really enjoy pretending, don't you?" Jason met his eyes. "I'm not pretending." Before the rich man could respond, another issue came up, a delay in a major client shipment. Voices rose again. Tension returned. Jason spoke once more. "The shipment won't be delayed if you reroute through the northern hub," he said. "The congestion cleared an hour ago." The operations manager looked up surprised. "That's true," he said after checking his screen. "How did you know that?" Jason replied simply. "I approved the reroute." The room froze. The rich man's smile disappeared. "Approved it." Whispers spread. Heads turned. People stared openly now, no longer hiding their curiosity. Jason stood straight, calm, composed. No arrogance, no showmanship. Just quiet authority. The rich man's voice tightened. "That's not possible," he said. "Only senior leadership can approve decisions like that." Jason didn't argue. He didn't explain. He simply waited. That silence spoke louder than words. A senior executive near the end of the table cleared his throat. "Actually," he said slowly, "those decisions were approved earlier this morning." The rich man's face stiffened. "By who?" he demanded. The executive hesitated, then looked at Jason, respectfully. Jason met his gaze and gave a slight nod. The room erupted into whispers. The rich man stepped back, suddenly unsure of his footing. "This is getting ridiculous," he said. "Who exactly do you think you are?" Jason looked around the room one last time. At the people who had stayed silent. At those who had doubted, and at the man who had tried to humiliate him. Then he spoke. "Let's finish the meeting first," he said calmly. "Answers can wait." And somehow, without shouting, without threats, everyone agreed. Because in that moment, it became clear to all of them. This was no ordinary employee. And the truth, when it finally came, was going to change everything. The meeting resumed, but the balance of power had shifted. The room felt different now, quieter, more focused. Executives leaned forward, listening carefully. Assistants stopped whispering. Every decision suddenly carried more weight, and at the center of it all stood Jason, calm and composed as if nothing unusual had happened. The rich man, however, was struggling. He sat rigid in his chair, jaw clenched, eyes flicking back and forth between the screens and Jason. The confidence he had walked in with was cracking, replaced by irritation and insecurity. He didn't like feeling uncertain, especially not in front of others. Finally, he stood up again. "Enough," he said sharply. "This meeting has gone off track." Everyone looked at him. He straightened his suit, trying to reclaim authority. "We're here to discuss investments, not listen to instructions from someone who won't even state his role." The room went still. Jason turned slightly toward him. "If you have concerns about the project," he said evenly, "we can address them." The rich man scoffed. "Concerns," he replied. "My concern is transparency. I don't like surprises, especially from people pretending to be important." A few executives exchanged uneasy glances. Jason remained calm. "Then let's focus on facts," he said. That calmness only fueled the man further. He stepped forward, voice rising. "Facts," he said loudly. "The fact is, I've invested more money into this company than most people here will earn in their lifetime. I deserve respect." Jason met his gaze. "Respect isn't purchased," he replied quietly. "It's earned." That sentence landed hard. The rich man's face flushed. He laughed sharply, but there was no humor in it. "You're crossing a line," he warned. "I can make one call and have you removed from this room." Jason didn't flinch. "That won't be necessary." The rich man leaned in. "You think I don't have influence here?" he said. "People listen to me." Jason's response was steady. "People listen to leadership." Silence followed. The rich man looked around, expecting support. Instead, he saw uncertainty, not toward Jason, but toward himself. That realization stung. His tone turned colder. "I want your name," he demanded. "And your position, right now." Jason paused, just long enough to make the moment uncomfortable. "I'll share that shortly," he said. That answer infuriated the rich man. "This is unbelievable," he snapped. "You walk in here, interfere with operations, embarrass me in front of my peers, and now you refuse to explain yourself." Jason's eyes remained steady. "No one embarrassed you," he said calmly. "Your words did." A murmur ran through the room. The rich man slammed his hand on the table. "You think you're teaching lessons now?" he shouted. "You don't belong in this world." Jason didn't raise his voice. He didn't step forward. But something in his posture changed. He stood a little straighter. His presence felt stronger, not aggressive, not threatening, just undeniable. "I belong wherever responsibility is taken seriously," he said. "And right now, this meeting needs focus, not ego." That was the breaking point. The rich man's composure collapsed. "I'm done," he said. Either he leaves or I do. The room froze. Executives looked at one another. Assistants held their breath. Everyone understood the weight of that statement. Jason looked around calmly, then back at the man. "No one needs to leave," he said. "This isn't about winning." The rich man laughed bitterly. "Easy for you to say," he replied. "You have nothing to lose." Jason met his eyes, and for the first time, there was something unmistakable in his expression, certainty. "That's where you're wrong," Jason said. "I have everything to protect." The rich man opened his mouth to respond. But at that moment, the doors to the meeting room opened. A senior executive stepped inside, followed by 2 board members. The room straightened instantly. The rich man turned toward them, relieved. "Perfect timing," he said. "We need to address a serious disruption." The senior executive didn't look at him. Instead, his eyes went directly to Jason, and his tone changed completely. "Sir," he said respectfully, "we're ready when you are." The room fell silent. The rich man froze because in that moment, he realized something was terribly wrong, and the truth he had ignored all along was about to come crashing down on him. The room stood frozen in silence. The senior executive's words hung in the air like thunder after lightning. "Sir, we're ready when you are." Every eye followed his gaze straight to Jason. For a brief moment, no one moved, no one spoke. Even the hum of the air, conditioning, felt louder than before. The rich man's confident posture collapsed. "I'm sorry, what?" he said, forcing a laugh. "Ready for who?" The senior executive stepped forward respectfully. "For Mr. Statham," he said calmly. "The meeting can continue whenever he wishes." A wave of shock rolled through the room. Whispers broke out instantly. Did he just say, "Mr. Statham"? Wait, Jason Statham. The rich man turned pale. "That's not possible," he said quickly. "You must be joking." Jason finally spoke, not to correct him, not to boast, but to settle the room. "Let's all take a breath," he said calmly. "There's no need for confusion." The executive nodded. "Of course, sir." That single word, "sir," sealed it. The truth was no longer hidden. Jason Statham wasn't an employee. He wasn't support staff. He wasn't pretending. He was the founder, the owner, the man who built the company from the ground up. The room reacted instantly. Executives straightened in their chairs. Assistants lowered their eyes in shock. Some looked embarrassed for staying silent earlier. Others felt relief, like justice had quietly arrived without force. The rich man took a step back. You should have said something," he stammered. Jason looked at him evenly. "Would it have changed how you spoke to me?" The question hit harder than any accusation. The rich man had no answer. Jason turned to the room. "I didn't come here to make a point," he said. "I came to observe, to understand how people are treated when titles are invisible." He paused, letting the words sink in. "What I saw today," he continued, "wasn't about business. It was about character." The room remained silent, every person listening closely now. If you were watching this happen in real life, would you step in, stay silent, or record it? Share your honest answer in the comments below. Jason looked back at the rich man, not with anger, not with satisfaction, but with calm seriousness. "You have influence," Jason said. "That comes with responsibility. How you treat people matters more than how much you invest." The rich man swallowed hard. His voice was quiet now. "I didn't know," he said. "I made a mistake." Jason nodded once. "We all do," he replied. "What defines us is what we learn from them." A board member spoke up carefully. "Mr. Statham, would you like us to address this formally?" Jason shook his head. "No public shaming. No consequences decided in anger." The rich man looked up surprised. Jason continued, "Let this be a lesson, not a punishment." The tension in the room softened. Jason turned to the executives. "Let's finish the meeting," he said. "We still have work to do." And just like that, the focus returned. But everything felt different now. The rich man sat slowly, shoulders lowered, eyes down. The arrogance was gone, replaced by reflection. As the meeting concluded, Jason addressed the room one final time. "Titles come and go," he said. "Money moves. Power shifts, but respect. That's something we choose every day. No one applauded. They didn't need to. The message was clear. The meeting ended quietly. People gathered their documents, some exchanging thoughtful looks. As they filed out, many nodded respectfully toward Jason, not because of his status, but because of his restraint. The rich man lingered behind. When the room cleared, he approached Jason slowly. "I owe you an apology," he said sincerely. "Not because you're the boss, but because you're right." Jason met his gaze. "Apology accepted," he said. "What matters is how you act next time." The man nodded and left. Jason stood alone for a moment, looking around the empty room. He hadn't raised his voice. He hadn't demanded respect. He hadn't used power as a weapon, and yet, the lesson had landed deeper than any confrontation ever could. Because true authority doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself when the moment demands it. The building slowly returned to its usual rhythm. Elevators moved again. Conversations resumed in quiet tones. Laptops closed, meetings ended, and people went back to their roles. But something had changed. Not in the structure of the company, but in the mindset of those who witnessed what had happened. Jason Statham walked out of the meeting room the same way he had entered the building that morning. Quietly, simply, without any announcement. Yet his presence lingered. Employees spoke in low voices as they passed each other in the hallways. Did you see how calm he was? He never raised his voice. That's real leadership. The story spread quickly, not as gossip, but as a lesson. By the end of the day, people across the building were reflecting on their own behavior. Assistants felt seen. Junior staff felt valued. Even senior managers carried themselves with a little more awareness. The rich man, meanwhile, sat alone in his office. The confidence he once wore so proudly felt heavy now. He replayed the moment again and again, the way he had judged, spoken, assumed. Not because Jason was the boss, but because Jason had chosen not to use that fact until it truly mattered. That realization stayed with him. Later that evening, an internal message was sent to every employee. Not an announcement, not a punishment, just a simple message from Jason. Respect is not tied to a title. Every role matters. Treat people accordingly. Those words spread faster than any viral headline. In the days that followed, something unexpected happened. Managers listened more. Meetings felt different. People spoke up without fear, not because policies changed, but because an example had been set. The rich man eventually requested a private meeting. When he entered the office, Jason stood up and offered a handshake. No tension, no resentment. "I wanted to thank you," the man said quietly. "You could have embarrassed me. Instead, you taught me something." Jason nodded. That was the goal. The man hesitated. "I've been successful for a long time," he admitted, "but I forgot something along the way." Jason looked at him calmly. Success without humility doesn't last. That conversation never went public. It didn't need to, because the impact of that day wasn't about exposure. It was about growth. Jason continued to visit different departments over the following weeks. Sometimes he spoke, sometimes he listened. Often he simply observed, and every time, people treated each other a little better. Not out of fear, but respect. That was the real victory. Not humiliation. Not revenge. Not power, but understanding. And that brings us to you. Because stories like this aren't just entertainment. They're mirrors. They ask us questions. How do we treat people when we think no one important is watching? Do we judge by appearance or by character? Do we use power to lift others or to feel bigger? If this story reminded you that respect should be given to everyone, no matter their job or status, type respect in the comments right now. And tell us, have you ever experienced or witnessed a moment where humility changed everything? Share it below. If you enjoy powerful, meaningful stories like this, stories that inspire, challenge, and remind us what truly matters, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because the world doesn't need louder voices. It needs better examples. And sometimes the strongest message is delivered by the quietest person in the room.